Right, we're just going to wait for Hailey Rowe to get on. Right, I'll just give it a minute here. Okay, give me 1 second, Hailey. Just here. Are you able to see yourself now? Use your camera. Give that a try now. Looks like you're under my name for some reason. That was really confusing for me, but let's make you host. That will allow you to turn your camera on. There we go. Hey, Hailey.
See ya. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. All right. Well, we can kick this off really shortly. Hailey, did you want to go into questions or would you rather do just teaching today?
Yeah, I can do some questions, of course, but I do have some slides if that would make it easier to show some visuals. But we could go either way, so.
Sure. Let's start with your slide deck. And if we have time at the end, we'll head into questions. So
Okay,
just wait for it to hit the hour and then we'll kick it off with our official intro and get started.
great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's kick this off. Welcome everybody to Better Business Conversations. This is a series put on by Practice Better where we welcome industry experts to come in and speak to our community about various topics that are relevant and pertinent to us as health and wellness professionals. So today we're joined with Hailey Rowe. Hailey is going to talk to us about client attraction and standing out in your business, something that I think is top of mind for many of us as we're finding our footing and recognizing that there's lots of practitioners out there and how do we stand out amongst others in our community. So Hailey, I will let you kick things off. You can go ahead and introduce yourself to the group here. We are recording, so this will be shared for those live and those catching us after, but you can say hello and let everybody know who you are.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm really excited to connect with the Practice Better community. My name is Hailey Rowe, as you said, and I'm a marketing and sales coach and consultant and a LinkedIn lead generation service provider. And I work primarily with wellness professionals. So I love helping those of you who are making the world a healthier place be able to actually make a bigger impact, get out of the overwhelm with social media, know how to use the timeless skills of sales and marketing to grow your business and work with clients. And I have a podcast called Health Coach Nation that Brittany's actually going to be on soon. So, but yeah, so we're going to be talking today about how can you attract more clients and stand out, and go through your questions along the way. So if you do want to share in the Q&A chat, kind of what you do, who you are, anything about your business that maybe you're struggling with, if you'd like, I can check that out as we go. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay. So here we go. We may skip some slides today, just depending on the questions and the flow, but basically we're going to be talking about the 4 basics to client attraction. And it's something that you can use on any marketing platform, whether it's Instagram, whether you're doing local marketing, things like that. So we already talked about who I am. Now we're going to go into the 4 basics. And before we do, I know that there's just a lot of different ways to market out there. And I just want to let you know that when we bring it back to the basics and we actually execute them, you can see better results in your business. So this was a client who was focusing on all the different marketing things and was only making like $4,000 in a year. And then when we actually got focused on the low-hanging fruit right in front of her to be booking clients, she was able to have her first $72K year. So what are these 4 basics? Well, they are connect, engage, pre-offer, and sell. Now, what does that really mean? So with connect, that means how you can find your ideal clients and connect with them. And I'm going to be walking you through an exercise you can do to brainstorm what that should be for you. Engage is getting interested in the dream outcome or pain points of your audience by asking them intentional questions, by engaging with them, by being social. Pre-offer is providing value up front. So what I mean by that is maybe a quick win in an email lead magnet or a free workshop like we're doing right now with Practice Better. And then sell is if somebody gets value from your pre-offer, like your mini baby offer that gets them a quick win, that's usually free, you might say, well, if you want to know more, you could book a call with me, or you might have a sales webinar, you might have sales follow-up emails in your email funnel, things like that, that go into the sales phase. Now, not everybody makes it to the sales phase, and people actually need several, what we call touch points to get to this point, right? So what I mean by touch points, a touch point could be as small as you showing up in their newsfeed. A touch point could be you following them on Instagram. A touch point could be engaging back in a comment somebody left on your post. So those little things build up the relationship as well. Okay, so let's talk about how do we connect with our ideal clients. So one of the things that I want to encourage everybody to do, if you're watching a replay or you're here live, you can actually brainstorm some ideas if you want in the chat. But I want you to think about, I want you to make what I call a leads finder list. And for my clients, we segment this into like a little spreadsheet that has different categories. But for you, what I want you to think about is like, think about your ideal client and who would they follow on Instagram? Like meaning what authors, what maybe brands, what influencers, what companies would they follow on Instagram, for example? On Facebook, what kind of support groups might they be in? On Google, what might they be searching? What kind of conferences or events or local networking groups might they be a part of? Or local businesses might they go to in your area? Or who might be good collaboration partners for you? Like who complements what you do and you guys share an audience? So brainstorm a little bit of what I call a leads finder list, meaning where can we find your ideal clients? And if you're getting stuck, ask yourself, where have past test clients come from or past clients come from? And usually what people will say is word of mouth, in which case that's not a problem. That's a good thing. And we can even say, okay, well, how can we increase your word of mouth? How can you maybe have a referral program where if somebody you've worked with in the past refers you to somebody new, maybe they get some kind of free bonus with you or a commission or something like that. So thinking about where have your past people come from, what's indicated it may have worked before, and double down on what has worked the best. So if you've had nothing that has worked yet, then obviously you're going to have to test and find where your people are. But if you've had something that indicates, oh, wow, interesting, I did this local event and I got my first client. Okay, well, then we can take note of that and maybe make a plan to do more local events or go back and do another local event with that same person in a different season, things like that. So let me share with you an example of a referral note. Because as I said, most people, it starts with word of mouth. So if that's the case for you, you could even consider to your past clients, sending just a little update or, something where you're re-engaging and just saying, hey, hope all is well. Not sure if this resonates, but I'm looking to connect with more women, powerhouse women like yourself who want to blank whatever goals you help with. I'd love to provide more freebies, coaching, and content to people. Do you know someone who might find it useful to have a free breakthrough session? Thanks so much. So that's if you wanted to offer like a free intro consult or assessment or something like that. That would be probably a sample coaching session. It might not be a discovery call where you're actually like presenting your offer. That would just be to get your foot in the door. But if you have a different freebie or you have a free challenge coming up, or you wanted to instead just promote your content and then take it from there and kind of build a relationship, you could offer your free Facebook group or things like that. So that's just an example. And that's also something, if you are a business owner as a wellness professional, which most of you are, this is something too that you could send to business colleagues. Like if you guys are both business owners, becoming a connector for other business owners and helping other business owners out tends to also be a good way to expand your referral network. So that's the first thing, is like, let's take it back to basics and just say, what's the lowest hanging fruit? And I want everybody here, if I were to tell you, hey, everyone, go book a client tomorrow, what either limiting beliefs would come up for you, or on the flip side, what ideas would come up for you as like, oh, that seems like the lowest hanging fruit of where I should start? Does anybody want to share in the chat what comes up for you when I would ask that question? While you're doing that, I will also show that another idea for how to connect with people is just one example. There's so many different ways you can connect with people, but we're going to talk about LinkedIn for a second. So if you have a LinkedIn account and you want to start with local networking with other business owners, or local networking with just people in your area, you could search your town and you could see, using the groups tab, what groups come up and see the members of those groups. So I'll show you a picture here. You'd see a list, like this is a group I'm in on LinkedIn. And when I click the members, these members come up, and I know we all have something in common. So it might make sense for me to send connection requests to expand my network to people who are, we have a common ground, people who I'd want to network with, people who I'd want to connect with, people who maybe I'd want to partner with, or people who might be potential clients if you work with a certain type of professional. So that's just one part of the 4 basics. We have to decide, where are we going to connect with people? Is it going to be word of mouth right now? Is it going to be LinkedIn? Is it going to be Instagram? Whatever it might be. So does anybody, again, want to share a way you're going to connect with people, or an idea you have, or maybe a question that is stumping you when it comes to connecting? Feel free to put it in the chat. And we will also move on to stage 2, which is, how do we engage with them? So once we connect with them, what do we do next? This stage is where your content comes in. So you can definitely engage through content and sharing valuable calls to action in your post, but you can also be the kind of person who personally acknowledges your followers and your network. So I always say, be polite and social on social media. I think it's the polite thing to do to say, like, thank you for following me. Like, thank you for being a part of my community. And don't be afraid to ask a question of what they want on your page. Like if they want to see a certain type of content, we want to know that. Or if they want to share more about themselves with you, we want to know that. So be somebody who is, taking initiative, welcoming somebody, giving them good vibes when they follow you, or they sign up for your lead magnet, or you guys connect on a networking event. Be the person who follows up and says it was awesome to meet you. And we can do it in a way that's not pushy, not salesy, not like, hey, thanks for joining my Instagram. Here's my product and you should buy it. We don't want to do that. But what we could do is, like, let's pretend you connected with somebody on LinkedIn who's in the same town as you, and you guys were in a networking LinkedIn group on LinkedIn that I showed you. You know how there's groups on LinkedIn, you were in the same group, you sent a connection request, they accepted it. Okay, well, now you might say something like, hey, it's great to connect. Would love to hear more about you. I'm a wellness coach in the local area. When it comes to topics like blah, 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 insert your areas of expertise. Do you have any questions or challenges in these areas? I hope to make my LinkedIn posts, if that's where you're posting, as useful as possible. So this is a real life example. Now, obviously, you can adapt this to your voice. You could just say, great to connect. I'd love to hear more about you. You could take out that you're a local wellness. Like, you can adapt this how you like. I'm not saying everybody needs to use the same template, but I am saying that it's simpler than you think to actually start engaging with humans. Now, a lot of people think, well, I don't want to be a burden. And I've literally gotten messages like this, that people are touched when you make a personal touch, when you send a voice note, or you do something personal instead of just a bot message or no acknowledgement whatsoever, things like that. So make people feel noticed, make people feel heard, create content that resonates with their needs, their goals, what they're looking for. And then we go into pre-offers. So at this point, you may want to think about, what is a baby offer, like a little checklist or a short video or an audio I could record, or it could even be a past podcast you did that you want to get more attention because it was really good for some reason and you want to promote it more. So if so, these could be a baby offer that solves a specific problem or dream outcome for your niche. So maybe that podcast goes through 3 ways to meal prep healthier or something. So that's a specific thing that would be covered in the podcast that you could pull out and make into your pre-offer, right? Now, pre-offers are a permission-based, non-invasive way to take somebody who doesn't really know you that well to being like, wow, I got value from you. Thank you. This was helpful. So what we want to do is we don't want your pre-offer to be your entire course. We don't want your pre-offer to be a 45-page ebook. We don't want it to be a 2-hour webinar. It needs to be a slice of your whole ecosystem of solutions you provide for people, but not the whole thing, right? Because then you overwhelm people, then they don't follow through on it, then they don't get the value from it, and then they forget about you. So let's talk about some examples of good freebie titles or good pre-offer titles or things that you might make a video about or a checklist or something like that. One is, I had a client who was a fertility coach, and so hers was free guide sharing 3 natural ways to boost fertility without IVF. And you might want to change that to without resorting to IVF first or something like that. And then this one says, get back 3 hours per week with my free delegating and boundaries checklist. So this was a client of mine who was helping people with time management, right? And then this one was like an overeating nutrition type of coach. And this is the 5-minute trick to stop nighttime overeating. So it gives a little exercise you can do to like de-stress, not just plunge right into overeating. So these are some examples. Now notice how they usually have a number in them to make them specific. They maybe have a thing that people don't want to have to resort to, that they won't have to right away if they use your guide first. It may include some kind of dream outcome, like stop nighttime overeating might be an outcome that people really want and struggle with, so that, you know, giving them a 5-minute trick to use tonight at dinner to help slow that down could be useful, right? So that's the themes there when you're titling your pre-offer. And as I said, you can have this be a checklist. You could have this be a video training. You could have it, even if you had some kind of piece of content in your own Facebook group that could be a pre-offer, you could invite people to your Facebook group to get the video or the thing that you shared in there. You could also lead a giveaway as a pre-offer. So what I mean by that is if you're trying to grow your audience and grow your email list with interested people, you may consider teaming up with, like, me and Brittany could bundle our services and do a giveaway, or Brittany and I could both put together 2 free resources into one and do a giveaway to both of our audiences, things like that. So there's ways you can get creative with this. And obviously we won't tackle all the different ways in today, but I want you to just think of what's one little pre-offer you could offer to your audience that might be of interest to them. Where I see people go wrong with pre-offers is I think about, they make like a guide, like find your life purpose, or this guide is healthy habits for life, which is great, but that's a long-term solve. And your ideal clients are thinking about what they need to solve right this minute and what's really urgent for them. So if your freebie is something more long-term focused, your whole program should be more long-term focused, but your pre-offer probably should be more short-term focused. What's something they can do this week and make their life better or solve the immediate urgent problem they're facing? So one thing I want to share too about your pre-offer is, instead of, remember when we were talking about how do you engage with your people? If you had like people who have been following you or been on your LinkedIn or whatever, and you wanted to swap out that introduction message with saying that you have this free gift if they do want it, you could do something like that. So you could say like, hey, Sarah, thanks again for connecting here on LinkedIn. Not sure if you or someone you know is looking to stop. I wouldn't say, LinkedIn's tricky though, because you don't want to make an assumption that they have like a health problem or a weight problem. So you probably would change that to say something like looking to, you might be a little more general there, like form healthy habits or have more energy or something. But I have a free, and then insert the title of your pre-offer. Would that be useful? Thanks. Notice you didn't just shove it down their throat. You didn't say they have to buy your program. It was permission-based here. You were asking a question. That's an example. Now, do you have to do that? No, you could post about it. You could have a post like, so here's on Facebook. I had a pre-offer that I posted about in my old group. My new group's called the Marketing Hub, FYI, but this was my old group before it got hacked. So I had a post that said, want my top 10 tips to crush your Facebook organic growth and engagement? Drop a yes below. Did I need to make 10 tips? No, it probably could have been 4, probably could have been 3, but I already had the video and I figured why not repurpose it? And it got 74 comments because it was a captivating thing that they would want right now to help their business. So good pre-offers, if you really focus on this and you make a really good pre-offer instead of something that's like, you know, something really broad, you can lead it to when they get that value from you, it could lead to good results like this. So this is from a client who got 5 strategy calls in 2 days from posting a grocery guide and getting some, it was like for plant-based people. And then another one here is somebody who got a lot of website traffic because they had a good masterclass title and people were interested. So that's the first part where we have to really build that trust and interest. Now, some people might stay in your pre-offer stage for a little longer than, you know, you would expect. Maybe they need more nurturing, more touch points. But some people might be ready and might say like, wow, wait, this actually is really useful. And I would like to know deeper about what you sell, what you offer. So that is where we go to the sales phase. And with sales, I think it's important to be careful about like how you word it. So in other words, we want to invite to the sales process. We don't just want to, now in your email funnels and stuff, obviously you can transition into that in an automated way. But if you're engaging on social media, or somebody commented that they're really struggling with something and they need help, you want to say, okay, well, would it make sense for us to hop on a discovery call and I can see if I can help you with this and we can talk about what support would look like? Or would you be open to connecting deeper about the blah, blah, blah program to help you with blah, blah, blah? So that is something you want to consider, is how you're phrasing it. And also when you go into the sales phase, whether you're doing a webinar, whether you're doing a discovery call or a health assessment, I think is what they call it for like IIN, things like that, you want to be able to go through this process. And that is give a roadmap for the call. So, or the webinar, whatever it is you're doing, basically telling them like, here's what you can expect. I might ask you a couple questions about your goals, what you've been struggling with, what you've tried so far, what you're looking for. And if it makes sense, we can talk about what it looks like to work together. Does that work? Something like that. So you want to get permission there. You want to just like ease them because you want to give them a roadmap. When you don't give a roadmap, people are like, what should I expect? Are you going to try to just, you know, force me into something? Like, so you have to open it up with the roadmap. Then you want to hear their vision. So the sales process is a lot of listening. And if it's a webinar, obviously you'll be engaging in comments and stuff with people commenting, but you will be asking them reflective questions. You will be painting the vision for them a little more so than if you're on a sales call where you can ask them what their vision is. But you want to hear their vision. So what's their goals? What are they looking for? You want to hear their challenges. So what have they tried? Why do they think that hasn't worked? What's been the struggles they're facing? You want to recap that and make sure you guys are on the same page. So what I'm hearing is you're struggling with blah, blah, blah. You want to blank. You've tried blank and you're feeling like you need blank. Am I missing anything? Are there anything else where you need to cover? And then you want to see how important or urgent this is. Now, notice this is all before we've ever even made the sales offer, because not everybody's, you got to know the red flags or know what's stopping them before you even make the offer. Because if they're not ready, or if they are sharing with you right up front that they just wanted to pick your brain or something, well, we need to know that. And so you want to hear like, well, how is this, what's your timeline for looking to get support with this? Why? You know, is there anything that could get in the way or come up? from working with a coach or a health practitioner or whatever it is. And then you want to coach through any fears they have about going on the journey. If you're finding that they are fears and not just, that the person literally isn't a fit for your offer. So with coaching, we ask solution-oriented questions. So if they're like, oh, well, I want to start next year, in the new year, I want to start getting healthy. Oh, okay. Why is that? Oh, because the holidays and my family, blah, blah, blah. Oh, gotcha. So, but in the past, how have past holidays been? Like, do you like the way those, like, not, maybe I'm not going the right direction here, but like, you don't want to ask yes or no questions or like, dictate like, well, you should want to be healthy during the holidays, but you do want to ask open-ended questions to see, does it really make sense to wait till the new year? Or is that something that is a pattern for you, right? So questions. And then we would, once they're like, yeah, I do want to do this at some point, or now I do see the value in getting support, et cetera. Okay, well, that's when you'd offer, do you want to go through my framework or my health system, or, what it looks like? And then you'd share that framework, you'd share the benefits of your health, of your help. And then you'd go into the investment, right? And then you coach through any questions they might have. And then you help them come to either and not right now, I need to think about it, in which case you'd set up a follow-up chat. But if they do need to think about it, you want to be on the same page of what is it that they still don't know, or what's the still question mark for them, so you can best coach through it, address it. So you'd either set up a follow-up chat, close, or decide if it's a no. And that's okay if it's a no, but it helps the person if you help them come to some kind of decision, rather than just being left more confused with more options and more overwhelm than before you guys connected. So that's the sales phase. That's a more complex phase where you got to get good at sales. Both the first 3 stages before that were all marketing. So one thing I just want to highlight is, if you're afraid of sales, because I know this is why a lot of you don't stand out, is because you're afraid of ever talking about what you offer. And what I want you to think about is, sales is really partnering with the client, asking the right questions, holding space for them, allowing them to see what's possible past their fears. This was actually from a client who shifted her sales mindset. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but what this goes into is, if you do want a deeper dive on all this, I have a free client attraction training at haileyrowe.com/client-attraction. And I do have a free consult if you do want to talk about how do these apply to your business, what's going to be the marketing method that works with your strengths, things like that. So haileyrowe.com is where you can go for that. But I am going to go to the chat, because I think I saw maybe a question. Did I see a question? Oh, no, I don't think so. I thought I saw one thing in the chat.
I don't think so. I think there was just somebody who maybe put an accidental period, but I have questions for you that we can get to. I'd love to hear your advice for those practitioners that are maybe still seeing clients in person. So we definitely have a big, broad community of virtual practitioners, but we do still have people that see clients in person. So how would you take this whole methodology that you've just outlined with us and share it with practitioners who are still working kind of on the ground, brick and mortar, seeing clients in person?
Yeah. Well, I almost think that's easier. So I would say, if you're seeing clients in person and you've never talked about your referral program locally, or you could have a fun, like you could, when we were talking about giveaways. Well, so let me back up, because I don't want to go into giveaways yet. But so the referral thing, create a referral program. What does it mean? If somebody refers you, what do they get? And make sure you have either a pamphlet, an email that goes out, or something that lets your clients know about that. The second thing is, list yourself on Google My Business. Actually, one of the attendees here is my client, and she's a Pilates instructor and a health coach. She listed herself on Google My Business with her keywords, and she's gotten 4, I think it was either 4 discovery calls or 4 clients. Nancy, maybe you can share more in the chat, but from doing that. And that was a pretty easy setup. The next thing would be also give local community networking. So you'd go through the 4 basics, but you would probably, so in other words, maybe you would, if you're a health practitioner and there's a chiropractor and you guys complement each other, or there's a yoga studio, or there's somebody who complements what you do but doesn't do the exact same thing as you, you guys could either bundle your services, do a giveaway together, even do something on social media together too, if you wanted to go online and expand that. And that could be another way to get in front of new people and you can still make a pre-offer of it being meet with me in person for a free consult or something like that. So yeah, Nancy said lots of discovery calls, 4 recurring clients in less than 6 months. Awesome.
That's great. Yeah, so I'd love to chat through a little bit of kind of the mindset side of this with you when it comes to standing out and feeling like, you've carved a place in this industry for yourself and you feel confident going forward with your message. One thing that I hear from the Practice Better community quite a bit is like, there's so many other health coaches or there's so many other of this type of practitioner that they feel kind of like they're drowning amongst a sea of practitioners, and how do they possibly stand out to position themselves differently than the broader, community of health and wellness practitioners. And to me, this feels like a mindset issue, but I'd love to hear what your community is saying to you and what you've experienced with that kind of sentiment.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's 2 different ways you can stand out. One is by who you are as a person and your traits in entrepreneurship and being a wellness professional and service provider, which I'll highlight what I think those traits need to be. But the other path is your offer itself could stand out, and your message and niche could stand out, and your story can stand out. So there's components of your brand that can help you stand out. So if you don't share your story, like I know a lot of people who resonate with me resonate because I understand the wellness industry. I used to work in business development and marketing for wellness startups. I ended up actually the company I worked for, because there was a bunch of delays, whole team got let go. So I had to start my business from scratch, unemployed. And so a lot of people resonate with that part of my story because they know what it's like to be like starting your business and it's the only option. So there's like parts that people will resonate with. So if you haven't shared your story yet, or you don't have a story, maybe think about what could that be? What is your story? Second thing is with your offer, rather than just saying, I do health coaching, think about what's the inconveniences, what's the pain points and struggles that you actually help your clients avoid that maybe other health coaches don't. Like, so maybe you don't make your clients meditate, and that's something actually unique about your approach, or you don't make clients intermittent fast or something, or go on crazy diets or something like that. So that could be a component, is like something you don't make them do that maybe others in the industry do, or a dream outcome that is unique to an audience. So if it's one thing to say, I help you lose weight. It's another thing to say, I help you lose the last 5 to 10 stubborn pounds after 40, or I help realtors lose weight when they're on the go all the time and they, whatever, right? So there's ways you can specialize your message. And the last thing is with your offer, there's things you can do in your offer to make it more standoutish, meaning you can have some kind of like free trial that removes a barrier for people to join, or a, bonus of some kind that's really interesting or something like that. So that's on the business side. But on the personal side, and kind of what you were saying is like, you're thinking it's a little bit of a mindset thing. I agree, because the truth is, there's 3 things you really should think about to stand out. One, you have to have more willingness than somebody else, meaning you have to be willing to feel really big feelings, big highs and lows, stick with something without seeing the immediate results in entrepreneurship on a whole bigger level than the average person. So the more willing you are to get uncomfortable, to test things without seeing immediate results, to stick with something and refine it until it works, the more I think you will stand out in this industry. It's just like with podcasts and podcast hosts. There's some crazy stat that like 80% of people don't stick with it more than 7 episodes. So it's really not that hard to stand out if you just keep podcasting for like 3 years, like I have, right? So that's one thing. The second thing is taking, I call it massive action. I don't mean hustling yourself to the ground. What I mean is being willing, as I said, to set a goal and refine your inputs until it works. What I think a lot of people do is get unfocused and hop around, and then they don't stand out because they're like, oh, I changed my niche, I changed my offer, I changed my marketing method, and that can really be a challenge. And then the last thing is being solutions oriented and coachable. So what I mean by that is a lot of people crush their business goals by asking questions like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just be tech savvy? Why is this so hard? And we need to flip the questions to who would want to work with me? What's right with me? Who wouldn't want to work with me? Why is tech a skill I can learn? What's something I've learned before that I never thought I could do? What is something I can do today that doesn't overwhelm me, that gets me focused on the message my clients need to hear today? Something like that. So I think those are some personal shifts that have to happen to help you stand out on a personal level. And then the last thing I'll say is being willing to give more value than somebody else. So in other words, I don't mean give away all your coaching for free. I think you are a business, you should have boundaries, but I do mean go a little above and beyond. Write a thank you note to somebody you did a collaboration with locally, or do personally follow up after you led a workshop with people and see how the steps went for them. So I just think there's little things too that you could do that stand out and are add a personal touch.
Yeah, I often see this floundering, especially for new practitioners, where they're just trying to like figure out what that niche is, and there is that like turnover of trying on new things and not really sticking with it, and also just this feeling of general defeat because we all use social media so much. We either are like try and embrace it, or maybe we've figured it out, or there's still the people that have some resistance to social media for marketing. But for the people that get onto social media maybe for the first time, they're battling with like the algorithm and actually getting in front of people and figuring out how to actually utilize that in a way to drive impact. And that can often translate to just like spinning your tires, and you're on social media and you're spending like hours a day on it, thinking that you're doing something for your business and thinking that you're like marketing. And in the end, you're just kind of bogging yourself down with busy work. And that's obviously not going to help you stand out, and it's not really doing anything for your business. So when it comes to like marketing efforts, like social media, in an attempt to stand out and attract clients, what's your best advice to maximize the impact with your time so that you're not just spinning your tires on social media?
Such a good question. So, okay, the first thing is, remember at the end of the day, the number of offers or pre-offers you make minus the no's equal your results. Okay, so in other words, if you're just posting and maybe you make an offer to your freebie or a call with you or something, that's cool, but that's one offer that went out, maybe to a couple people, but like 2% of people will see it unless you're doing ads. So it's so sad, right? So that we have to come back to, here's how you know if something was worth your time. Does it get you in a position to make offers and pre-offers, or was it making pre-offers and offers? Okay, so a discovery call is a better use of your time than creating a Canva graphic for your Instagram post. Getting in front of 7 people at once, like, or however many people are here at one time, is better use of my time than, doing a social media post. So that's something to think about, is how many offers am I making? How many pre-offers am I making? How many relationships am I building? Is my audience growing so there's more eyeballs seeing my posts in the first place? And then the other thing is, with your time, I like to put in order what I focus on in the day, so that I don't spend my whole day on social media and then be like, oops, I don't have any time for other things. So in other words, if I need to write a newsletter to my email list, that's going to go above doing a social media post, because that's a bigger audience. It's a better use of my time. So know thyself. If you tend to go on social media, make a post, and then it's like 2 hours later, put that later in the day so you don't have that chance to like let it get in the way of other things. Or let that be, if you like doing that, let that be like your reward for actually going out and like forming referral partnerships in the community, or like, talking about your referral program for the first time or something like that. So kind of work with yourself on, how can I be putting myself in a position to make offers this week or today, and put that first on your list. And I do have like a prioritizing system I use at HaileyRowe.com/time planning. But I think those questions should help you maybe start to prevent that, just the busy work.
Yeah, that's a big topic at Practice Better. It's just, being efficient and effective with time and doing things like taking the administrative work off your plate. Because it's very defeating when you do spend all that time just to feel like you got 4 likes on your Instagram post and no new clients from it, and you put so much time and effort into writing like a really compelling caption that you thought was going to be this really strong educational piece. So that's really good advice to prioritize how you're spending your time.
Yeah, and one thing actually, if I can add to that, is
Yeah.
when you're saying like, could you outsource it? If you've ever I time myself for like how I spend my time in my business, and I use an app called Toggle, and at the end of the week it sends me a report of like, here's how you spent your time. And you can actually calculate how many hours am I working versus how much am I making? What's my hourly rate? And once you know that, if there's something that you're doing recurring that somebody else could do for less than your hourly rate, consider outsourcing it. Now, don't outsource it if you feel like it's producing absolutely zero results. You've been doing it for over 3 months. You've tested it. It's just not doing anything. But that would be a good way to know, like, could there be some things I could get off my plate? And sometimes I think people are scared, like, could I really afford this? So sometimes it helps to just calculate like what is your hourly rate and then decide from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I often talk about the same piece of advice of keeping a time log, just for the basis of some of those small menial tasks that we're doing in our business eat up more time than we think, and it's taking us away from the work that actually does drive impact into our business. So all of those efforts that Hailey's outlined to actually attract clients and stand out amongst your competition, you could probably find more time in your day to dedicate towards that effort if you could take some of those administrative, repetitive, recurring tasks off your plate. I want to tell you about this user that I met with quite a while ago. She was a health coach, and she had a very specific niche in helping burnt out, stressed women who are middle aged. And she was kind of doing her thing. She felt really confident in her niche. And then all of a sudden, she came across another health coach who also specialized in burnout and stress with the same demographic, and somebody who worked with, women also in their 40s kind of age range. And it totally dismantled her sense of confidence. She was questioning everything, questioning her sense of expertise, dealing with imposter syndrome. And all of a sudden, she was having a really hard time showing up because she was in this constant state of comparison and feeling like, there was just this direct other option who had more followers and more engagement. And it was really just challenging for her. So what kind of advice would you have for anyone who's been in similar shoes where, they find something that they're really passionate about, but they also are aware that there is other people in that same space?
Yeah. Well, first of all, as the quote goes, comparison is the thief of joy. So any one of us could look for all the reasons why we're not the best in our field, why we're not good enough. We could also look for reasons why some people need to hear it from us and not that other person. Some people will resonate more with our story than the other person. Some people will just be in our town or have a connection with us and trust us more than that other person. So there's enough to go around. I think that's a big thing. You got to have an abundance mindset. There's more than enough people who have health challenges and burnout who need help. And you guys actually, Burnout Coach 1 and Burnout Coach 2, share the same mission to make a positive impact on the world. So whether they go to you or that person, you guys still have the shared mission of helping more people in the ripple effect of coaching. So I almost would even see it as like, go girl, get it. Like, let's both do this. Let's change the world of burnout, right? So I think you got to think about what is it that makes, you got to sell yourself on yourself, really, like, and your offer and your approach and how some people may need to hear it from you. And then the other thing is sometimes it helps to set some boundaries with that. Like I used to, in the very beginning stages of my business, I followed a ton of other marketing and sales coaches. I thought, oh my gosh, I need to have my content look like theirs. I need to, like be like them. And I realized that was actually clouding my own content, my own unique original message. And I find it's way easier and better for your mental headspace sometimes to not, look at what other people are doing and focus on what you are doing and what you can do. So those would be a couple of tips and suggestions.
Yeah, I think for so many of us, we've lived this kind of journey that's brought us to this career path or selecting, this line of work is often because we've gone through something personal and our journeys have perfectly kind of combined to lead us to this point. So, in that example of somebody dealing with burnout, it's like they probably didn't pull that out of the sky. They probably came from a place where they had some direct experience with it, and that's why they felt so passionate about it. So, tapping into their own story, knowing that it's going to be different, even if your niche and your, everything feels the exact same as somebody else's, your story is different, and that makes you unique and special too. I think that's all for my questions. I'd love to open it up to the group that's here live. You have the floor for these last few minutes. If there's any questions, please feel free to pop into the chat while we have Hailey here. She's an abundance of information and expertise, so I'd love us to take advantage of this time. And we are recording this, so if there's any desire to come back and watch this again, we will be sharing this in your inboxes and then posting it to YouTube as well. If we don't get any questions, maybe what we'll do is wrap this up. It's been a fantastic 45 minutes, Hailey, of learning from you. So thank you so much for being here and sharing with the Practice Better community all about client attraction and how to stand out. It really does blend perfectly well with a lot of the philosophies and features that we have in Practice Better. So many ways to engage with clients, get that referral system going, spread, word of mouth and offers, all of that good stuff. So our users will be really happy to have some inspiration to get into the platform and make all these things happen. So thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. Love what you guys are doing to make health coaches and wellness practitioners' lives much easier. So thank
Thanks,
you for
Hailey. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll chat again.
Bye.